Hey, what's up everybody? Jake here and welcome to the hobby. We're doing AMA today, which means you guys get to ask me any questions you want, and it's a great way to get a pulse check on the hobby, just seeing what people are having questions or concerns about. So it's pretty fun. Haven't done one of these in a while, don't know why. Let's see what some of the questions are. We have Jose Lopez who asks, "Hi Jake, I think they should make holos as desirable as they were. Nowadays, only full art matters, and it's kind of sad because commons, uncommon, and rare cards have almost the same value, which is none. So should holo rares be desirable again?" I think the Pokemon company can do that. I absolutely understand your concern. Is that most people kind of scoff at holo rares just because they're not a really good pull anymore. Most people want the alt art cards or the trainer gallery cards nowadays. So yes, I do see your point. I would say, can they do it? They can. There's different ways to do it. They've done it in the past with things like the Amazing Rares or Prism Stars. Those are some different gimmicks, but they can also make the holo rares desirable by just introducing some cool art into the holo rares. Would they want to do that? They may not, because in terms of the trading card game, the holo rares do serve a purpose in being slightly more rare than other pulls, so they can make those cards a little bit more interesting in the trading card game. But yes, they can make the holo rares desirable again by doing a couple of different things. Maybe even splash in some alternate art into the holo rare. So you have a regular holo Charizard and maybe a special 1 in 100 or 200 booster pack holo Charizard. That's a way to make them desirable again. Next question, we got Daniel who says, "Do you think current alt arts like Lugia and Giratina will continue to rise in price, or will the price become stagnant once newer sets arrive and the market for them cools down?" It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say because you don't know what's going to be coming out next, you know. Perhaps the next 10 sets are kind of boring and people will see the alt arts from the past year or two as the golden age or the silver age of Pokemon cards, whatever you want to call it. Or maybe in 2 years, the Pokemon company releases way better cards, alternate space cards or whatever it is. And those cards become the most desirable Pokemon cards and everyone forgets about the Pokemon cards from the past 2 years. That could also happen. I can't predict the future, but I will say that these alt arts are really desirable and they are super rare. You find like 1 in every 200 or 300 booster pack. They're so rare that they command that price point because you have to open up hundreds of dollars of booster packs just to get one copy of them. That's why they're so gosh darn expensive. They're desirable for once, the art is great, but they are so significantly rare that they have to command some level of price just because of how hard it is to find one. Next question is from Dreefully who asks, "Sup Jake, simple question, do you think the Japanese Pikachu Scarlet and Violet promo is worth the price it's current going for on eBay?" So don't quote me on this. I think this is the Pikachu card that features the starter from the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon game, and you get it if you pre-order Scarlet or Violet in Japan. So it has to be super specific, not available in English yet, and it is a really cool card. Whatever price point it's going for on eBay, if you want to pick it up, it's your choice. It's really hard for me to say if it's worth it or not. For some people, it's going to be completely worth it. For some people, it might not be. Just depends on what your budget is and how much you really want this card. Now, I can show it to you on the screen and you can tell for yourself, is it a cool card or not? Up to you. If you want to pick it up, I can also do a price check on it for you after I finish editing this video. So there you go. Do you want it? Up to you. I personally think it's a really cool card, and yeah, if it's affordable for you, then probably pick it up. Next up, we have Alpha Jax who asks, "Hi Jake, does getting a card graded always increase its value? Are there instances when grading it makes it worth less?" And yes, this happens all the time. Right now, for modern Pokemon cards specifically, it's pretty much PSA 10 or Gem Mint 10 or bust. You either get a 10 card or you're pretty much not getting any additional value for having your card graded, because grading a Pokemon card currently costs around $15 to $20. And if your card comes back as a 9, most other collectors will value a 9 pretty much the same as an ungraded raw card. So by grading it, you kind of just lost $15 or $20. You have to get it to be Gem Mint for a collector to want to pick it up. And there's a bunch of different reasons for that. And the biggest one is that modern cards are considered to be so abundant. You know, if your card is a 9, why would anyone want to pick it up when they can have plenty of ungraded copies and take their own chance? You already got a 9, they know what grade yours is, there's no opportunity of them getting a 10 with your card. So at least with an ungraded card, people believe that there is a chance that they could be a 10. So that's why a 9 is sort of valued as the same as an ungraded card. So right now in the hobby for modern cards, unless you get a 10, you're probably losing value from having your card graded, which is a serious risk when it comes to grading Pokemon cards. Next question is from Yipe Master, who asks, what's your take on collecting sealed booster boxes? How do you feel about it, and why would it be great or bad to do so? Do you personally do it, and is it a safe item to collect in a world of overprints? I do collect sealed products, and the biggest reason for that is I like to have a little piece of history with me. Personally, sealed products are not great for display. They're, to me, kind of ugly. But some collectors have made great displays out of sealed products, so it can happen. But sealed booster boxes by design are a little bit bland because they're meant to be cracked open, and they're really flimsy collectibles in general. But they do retain a lot of value, even when a set is overprinted. The best example of an overprint set is XY Evolution. That set was printed into the ground. The Pokemon company printed so much XY Evolutions for years and years and years. And the biggest reason that people think that the Pokemon company did this was because XY Evolutions was a really good introductory set. It's very nostalgic. It's a very solid set for new collectors to crack open because they get to see a lot of memorable Pokemon cards. And at the same time, it sort of introduces people to new mechanics like ultra rares and full art trainers and all kinds of stuff like that. So XY Evolutions was pretty much printed non-stop for 5 years straight. And booster boxes of XY Evolutions are of course still going for $1,000 today. So yes, sealed products are super safe even when they're printed really heavily, because at the worst case scenario, most modern Pokemon card set stays really stable at around $100 per booster box. They very rarely tip below that. So that's why they're so solid. You usually do not lose much value on them, and it's a great, easy, safe collectible long term. Next up, we got Pascal, who asked, how do you fight overspending because of FOMO? Is the key to just budget really well in advance? New products are always popping up and it's hard to make a decision. I completely understand where you come from. For a long time as a collector, and even now, I still have a pretty strict budget. Sometimes I will go over it if I feel like I have an opportunity and it's something I'm really excited about. But in general, I stay very well in terms of my budget. For most new Pokemon card set, even as a content creator, I'm picking up 1, 2, maybe, like if I'm really excited about a set, 3 booster boxes for a new set. Most people, you probably only really need to crack open 1 booster box, and if you want to, you can have a second one to keep sealed. If you're on a super tight budget, don't even go for the booster box. Go for like an Elite Trainer box, or go for the blister packs. I talked about how good the blister packs are long term. They actually do really well, the 3-pack blisters, because so few people collect them. They get pretty expensive. If you look at some older 3-pack blisters, they go for a lot of money nowadays. So yes, budget collecting, stay on a strict budget, collect what you will. And if you can't crack open booster packs because they are a really inefficient way of collecting, go for singles. Go for singles. There are so many gorgeous trainer gallery cards out there that are going for under $1 nowadays that you can easily pick up 100 really gorgeous, unique cards for the price of a booster box. Next question is from Tokyo Sour, who asks, what's your opinion on opening up booster boxes versus just buying singles you want from a set from a financial responsibility standpoint? I would say you only really need to open up 1 booster box if you want to even open up booster packs. If you don't enjoy pack opening, then don't do it, just buy singles. But if you do enjoy the experience of buying a sealed product, cracking it open, seeing what you get, not knowing what it is, enjoying the mystery of it, because I do think that there's entertainment and value in the pack opening experience. If you don't enjoy that, then just buy singles. But yes, from a financial responsibility standpoint, I would say if you have the money for it and you can afford it, one booster box is really all you really need to enjoy a set. And if you don't get the cards you want inside of that booster box, buy them on the secondary market. Next question is from Roy Kim, who asks, as a very low budget collector, a student, does it make sense to grade modern cards that look as if they are 9s instead of 10s? I'm thinking of sending in cards to PSA, but I'm not particularly sure. Personally, I would say just hold on to them right now. If you don't have the budget or the cash available to grade your Pokemon cards, you don't need to grade them. You can hold on to them for a very long time. I've been holding on to my Pokemon cards for the past 2 years when prices on grading Pokemon cards were outrageous, and now that prices are finally at a what I would consider reasonable level, now I'm finally grading those cards. I have cards that have been waiting to be graded for years, and spoiler alert, a lot of them actually came back as 10s. So I'm pretty happy with that. So unless there's a reason you really need to grade your Pokemon cards, they're probably absolutely fine to be inside of a top loader or a card saver until the time when you feel like it's actually time to get them graded. When you have the money, when you have the budget, when you have the time to actually go through and grade your Pokemon cards. There's absolutely no rush needed to grade your Pokemon cards. Next question is from Aiden, who asks, hey Jake, do you see vintage slabs going down in price more, or do you think this is about as low as they will go? Hard to say, hard to say. The prices on the rare vintage Pokemon cards, I would say, they're probably at their bottom, but if a card is more abundantly available, then the prices could get a lot cheaper. The biggest reason why vintage graded Pokemon card prices have dropped so much is because a lot of the cards aren't actually that rare. There's a ton of them out there. They weren't graded, but there are a ton of them out there. So grading has sort of caught up. So now you can find pretty much vintage graded Pokemon cards for pretty much any Pokemon you really want. Unless it's a super rare card. There are still super rare cards that command very expensive prices, but those are actually pretty rare. If you want to pick up a Flareon from Jungle, a base set Raichu, a base set Gyarados, all of those iconic cards are readily available right now just because there's a ton of them out there. There wasn't a ton graded, but there are now. So definitely be on the lookout. There's some really affordable cards right now. Last question is from Exo Espion, who asks, I've been holding on to my Umbreon VMAX Alt Art Japanese card for a while now. I'm stuck on sending it to get graded or selling it raw. Thankfully, prices for PSA have come down, but I guess my biggest concern is not getting a 10 and not loving it as much. Okay, so that's definitely a tricky one. I would say if it's a Japanese card, the Japanese cards quality are a lot higher. So without seeing your card, I can't guess the grade. But if it's a Japanese card, I would say 80% of the time you're probably going to get a PSA 10 just because the quality of the Japanese cards are really, really solid. And I will say I love my PSA 9s as well. I love my cards, and because they're in a graded slab, I get to handle them a lot more. You know, when a card is inside of a top loader or a card saver, I'm usually not looking at them. I'm usually not handling them with my hands or touching them or shuffling them that much. But once a card is inside of a slab, I get to be a little bit rougher. You know, I can frame it. If it falls on the floor, if it gets pushed around a little bit while sorting, it's not as big of a deal because I know it's encapsulated and it's protected. So that can be a huge plus. I wouldn't worry too much about the grade. I would say if you love the card, you'll probably love it no matter what. All right, everybody, that's the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish I could really answer a lot more of these questions. So if I have some time, I'll answer your questions directly through DMs. Keep sending me questions and I will try my best to answer as many of them. You can even leave questions down in the comments section. I read through a ton of my comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.